Jammu police and the BSF have arrested two men for brandishing weapons in public. A pistol, two magazines and a toy pistol used to intimidate locals were recovered in the joint operation by Satwari police and 13th Battalion BSF. The accused Mysuru Hussain and Suraj from Badhori, Samba have been booked for creating fear among residents. As temperatures dip in the national capital, people are taking refuge in night shelter homes. Visuals from Sarai Kale Khan show families and labourers moving indoors to escape the cold waves. Serious allegations have emerged against Ashiana police in Lucknow after a 28-year-old man, Mithun, died days after being arrested on theft charges. His family alleges he was brutally beaten in custody with sticks and belts, kept without intimation and sent to jail despite his deteriorating condition. Mithun died on December 21 while being shifted to hospital. The family blames police torture and negligence for his death. All right, viewers, let's move on to a next top story. Heartbreak and outrage in Tripura as people step outside onto the streets demanding justice for Angel Chakma, the young student who was brutally attacked in Dehradun. Now, candle marches and protests are underway across the state, with locals and students raising their voices against violence and calling for the safety of Northeast students nationwide.
A wave of grief has turned into a wave of anger across Tripura as people step out demanding justice for 22-year-old student Angel Chakma. Candle marches and rallies were carried out seeking accountability for a life lost too soon. Angel, a student from Tripura studying in Dehradun, was attacked on December 9 in Selakui. What began as verbal abuse turned into a violent assault. He and his younger brother, Michael, were allegedly racially abused, followed and then attacked by a group of youth. He fought for life in the ICU for over 2 weeks, but eventually succumbed to his injuries, shattering his family. Police have arrested 5 accused, but the main accused, Yagya Avasthi, is still on the run. Meanwhile, Assam CM Himanta Biswa Sarma has also urged the Chief Minister of Uttarakhand to ensure strict action is taken against the culprits so that justice is served. In Tripura, protesters are demanding swift action, justice, safety and protection for Northeast students across the country.
There's a big breaking news that is coming in right at this moment. Now, tensions escalated in Rishikesh over forest land lease case yesterday. Now, these are the visuals. Now, violence erupted in as locals clashed with police and forest department officials protesting a Supreme Court ordered probe into the lease of 2,866 acres of reserved forest land. Now, the protesters, angry over the investigation, took to the streets, blocking the Haridwar highway and railway tracks. The situation turned ugly when stones were pelted at police, injuring several police officers and damaging railway property. The police later in the night conducted a flag march in order to maintain peace in the region. So tensions escalated in Rishikesh over forest land lease case yesterday. Now, for more information, we are being joined by Ratan. Ratan, विस्तार से समझाइए exactly क्या हुआ था, what exactly happened और क्या कारण रहा इस protest का?
देखिए, ऋषिकेश के गोमानीवाला ब्रह्मपुर और शिवाजी नगर क्षेत्र में जो विवाद चल रहा है, इसमें 2,866 एकड़ सरकारी वन भूमि से जुड़ा हुआ ये विवाद है, जिसमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इस मामले को उत्तराखंड सरकार को कड़ी फटकार भी लगाई थी और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने उत्तराखंड सरकार को फटकार लगाते हुए इस मामले की जांच और कार्रवाई के आदेश दिए थे। ये विवाद दशकों पुराना है। इसमें 99 साल की लीज यानी कि 1950 में तत्कालीन सरकार ने पशु लोक सेवा समिति को पशुपालन और चारा उत्पादन के उद्देश्य से 2,866 एकड़ वन भूमि 96 साल की लीज पर दी थी और लीज रद्द भी हुई थी बीच में, समय से कार्रवाई भी हुई। इस बीच यहाँ पर अवैध कब्जे और कॉलोनियां भी यहाँ पर लगातार बनती चली गई। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने नोटिस सरकार को दिया। इसके बाद जो वन विभाग है वो यहाँ पर हरकत पे आया और उसने जो यहाँ की तमाम जमीन है, जो 2866 जिस हम एकड़ की बात कर रहे हैं, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि जहां पर मकान बने हुए उसको छोड़ करके जो जमीन वन विभाग की है आप उसकी नपाई कीजिए, आप उसको देखिए वो जमीन कितनी है। तो इसी कड़ी में लगातार वहां पर जो वन विभाग के लोग हैं वो वहां पर उसकी नपाई के लिए जा रहे थे, जिसके चलते जो वहां के स्थानीय लोग हैं उन्होंने इसका विरोध किया। उन्होंने लगातार सुप्रीम इसका विरोध करते रहे लगातार, और उन्होंने उनको वन विभाग के जो कर्मचारी जो अधिकारी उन्हें नपाई नहीं करनी थी। इसके बावजूद ये विवाद लगातार बढ़ा, जिसमें कल 6 पुलिस को हल्का बल का प्रयोग भी करना पड़ा और रेल का जो रास्ता है और रेल के ट्रैक पर वो लोग बैठ गए और जिससे रेल का जो यातायात प्रबंधन वो भी बाधित हुआ। तो इसी तरह से इस प्रकार की पूरी घटनाक्रम यहाँ पर हुई है। और इसके बाद पुलिस को लगभग शाम की बात अगर बात की जाए तो पुलिस को लाठियां फटकार का हल्का बल का प्रयोग भी करना पड़ा, जिसमें कुछ पुलिस वालों भी यहाँ पर जख्मी हुए हैं। वहीं देर शाम तक उत्तराखंड के जो देहरादून के जो एसएसपी अजय सिंह है उन्होंने फ्लैग मार्च भी किया इस पर, और अब फिलहाल वहां पर नियंत्रण की स्थिति बनी हुई है।
So basically the violence erupted because the protesters are protesting the probe which was ordered by Supreme Court on the lease. All right, viewers, let's move on to our next top story. In Mysuru district, an armed gang robbed a gold jewelry shop in Hunsur in broad daylight. The attackers held staff at gunpoint and fled with a large quantity of jewelry. Police have now formed multiple teams to track them down. Here's the full report on that.
A major robbery has taken place at a jewelry shop in Mysuru district. The incident took place at Sky Gold Jewelry in Hunsur city on Tuesday afternoon. The gang struck between 2 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. when 5 armed men entered the store and threatened the staff at gunpoint. They arrived on 2 two-wheelers and escaped within minutes after looting a large quantity of gold jewelry. Police rushed the spot immediately, under inspecting CCTV footage to identify the accused. The exact value of the gold stolen will be known after a stock audit. Following the robbery, security has been tightened across Mysuru district. Police have set up 18 checkposts, issued high alerts and intensified checks at all major entry and exit points. Investigators are also examining whether any insiders, including the shop owner, manager or staff, may have been involved.
All right, viewers, time to slip into a short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. Coming up, Zelensky, Trump hold high-stakes peace talks in Florida amid intensifying Russian strikes on Kyiv. Coming up.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डवेयर मसाला।
Amity has been ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally, a testimony to Amity's globally benchmarked quality.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
We just now felt this entire mountain shiver because there are blasts going on. As we were telling you, usually for the limestone mining, the acceptable range of the blast is around 1 meter, and that won't be so harsh that we could feel this entire mountain, feel shake. Yes, definitely, and the kind of because for cement mining they need blast of a larger range of something around 50 meters or 60 meters. And when that happens, we were not able to show you, but because that is very frequent between 2 to 3 p.m. we'll try to get that on camera for you guys. But while I was speaking to you, I could feel this mountain shake. So that is the range, and all of this is illegal, Shivam. All of this, the range of those blasts which is used in those mining, the kind of trucks that you see on the other end which are carrying those residual pebbles, those are also they are not legally allowed to sell those, but they're not only doing illegal work, they're also making double profit out of whatever is left here. They're making profit illegally out of the Arrawali hills, the lungs of the Delhi NCR, the home for several hundreds of people, wildlife, and so much more. As we know that recently the Supreme Court has accepted the new definition of the Arrawali range, where any mountain which is under the height of 100 meters will not be considered as a part of Arrawali range. Now, what will be the repercussions of it? Any mountain which is not considered a part of Arrawali range will be open to construction, will be open to mining, and this Arrawali range, which is more than 2.5 billion years old, also
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये तो है इसकी खास बात।
वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है?
अरे मेरे राजा,
सबका राजा और प्योर मसाला।
मेरी चिमनी टूट जाएगी। What are you doing?
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो, मिलाओ और खाओ।
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला।
We are willing to put an end to this conflict via peaceful means based on the principles that I outlined in July last year when I spoke at the Foreign Ministry of Russia.
Putin squarely blamed Kyiv for the failure of peace negotiations, accusing Ukraine's leadership of refusing dialogue.
Statements from Zelensky that he is not prepared to discuss territory issues. At the moment, we don't see their readiness. I would like to remind where it all began.
Rejecting allegations against Russia, Putin claimed Moscow did not start the war. Putin blames roots of Ukraine conflict lie in 2014 anti-constitutional coup.
We did not start this war. This war began as a result of the anti-constitutional military coup in 2014 and then commencement of the military.
Supreme Court to hear suo motu case on Arrawali definition, hearing before vacation bench today. Supreme Court to also hear CBI's appeal against suspension of life sentence granted to Kuldeep Singh Sengar today. NCP SP goes solo in BMC polls. Ajit Pawar announces reunion with Sharad Pawar faction in Pimpri-Chinchwad polls. And EC releases Uttar Pradesh's draft electoral rules after special intensive revision. Nearly 2.8 crore names deleted. Trump holds talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin ahead of peace talks with Zelensky. Zelensky-Trump hold high-stakes peace talks in Florida amid intensifying Russian strikes on Kyiv. All right, viewers, let's begin with our first top story. Now, in a major diplomatic push to end nearly 4 years of war, US President Donald Trump met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Now, Trump said both Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin want peace after holding a lengthy phone call with Putin just hours before the meeting. Here's the full report on that.
At Mar-a-Lago, US President Donald Trump formally welcomed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for high-stakes talks aimed at ending the Russia-Ukraine war. Trump said he believes both Ukrainian President Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin are ready for peace.
We'll see what happens, but I believe it's a war that we have two willing parties, we have two willing countries. They want to see it end. Look, the people of Ukraine want it to end, and the people of Russia want it to end, and the two leaders want it to end.
Zelensky, standing beside Trump, said the talks would include sensitive issues like territorial concessions, a red line for Ukraine until now. Both leaders said their negotiating teams have already drafted steps to push peace talks forward.
The economic benefits for Ukraine, Europe is holding some billions in frozen Russian assets. Do you believe that should go to Ukraine to help rebuild or go back to Russia?
None of that's been determined, but it'll go. It's going to go very quickly. I think we're in final stages of talking, and we're going to see. Otherwise, it's going to go on for a long time. It'll either end, or it's going to go on for a long time, and millions of additional people are going to be killed. Millions. And nobody wants that.
The meeting comes as Russia intensifies attacks across Ukraine with overnight strikes hitting Sloviansk, killing 1 and injuring 3.
I just think we can move very rapidly. I really feel that. We've spoken. I know you had dinner with Steve. Steve Witkoff and Jared have done a fantastic job. And everybody has. Marco's been incredible. The whole group has been, our group has been incredible. And Ukraine appreciates it, and Russia appreciates it. They both want to see it end, and we're going to get it ended. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll see you, I think, at the end, but I do think we'll call Europe also. We're going to speak to the European leaders. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, Moscow said Trump initiated the call with Putin and described it as friendly and businesslike, adding that Russia expects Ukraine to make bold political decisions, especially on contested regions like Donbas. With both sides signaling readiness for a ceasefire, the Mar-a-Lago meeting is being seen as the most significant step yet toward ending the conflict.
All right, viewers, let's move on to our next top story. The Arab League has strongly pushed back against Israel's decision to recognize Somaliland, calling it a violation of Somalia's sovereignty. At an emergency meeting in Cairo, Somalia accused Israel of aggression and linked the move to what it described as a wider plan against Palestinians. Somalia also signaled it would take the issue to the United Nations when it assumes a key role at the Security Council next year. Here is more on the story.
Somalia has slammed Israel's recognition of Somaliland, calling it an act of aggression and a clear violation of international law. Speaking at an Arab League emergency meeting in Cairo, Somali Ambassador Ali Orari said that the move undermines Somalia's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The emergency session was convened at Somalia's request just a day after Israel announced that it would recognize Somaliland. Orari alleged that the recognition is part of a broader Israeli plan aimed at displacing Palestinians from their land. He said Somalia would not support any effort to displace Palestinians and reaffirmed solidarity with what he called Palestinian brothers. The Somali envoy also warned that his country would actively counter such moves at international forums. Meanwhile, the Arab League reiterated its categorical rejection of unilateral actions threatening Somalia's unity, stressing respect for international law and regional stability.
At least 3 people were killed and around 60 injured in Syria after violent clashes broke out between Alawite protesters and counter-demonstrators on the country's coast. The unrest comes just 2 days after a deadly bombing at an Alawite mosque in Homs that left 8 worshippers dead. Security forces fired into the air to break up fighting as both groups hurled rocks and attacked each other. Now, Syria will begin a nationwide currency exchange on January 1, 2026, replacing old banknotes with new ones and cutting 2 zeros from the lira. The central bank has announced. Governor Abdul Qadir Husrey says citizens will have 90 days extendable to swap their notes with both currencies allowed to circulate during a transition period. Prices must be displayed in both versions and the exchange will be free of charge with no fees or commissions allowed. In Suriname, a brutal knife attack near the capital Paramaribo has left at least 9 people dead, including 5 children, most of them the attacker's own family. Police say a 43-year-old man turned violent after a dispute with his estranged wife, attacking his children and then neighbors who tried to help. Victims were found across multiple homes in the Rishikesh area. A 6th child and another adult are critically injured. The attacker also attempted to strike police officers before being apprehended and is now in hospital. Suriname's President Jennifer Geerling Simons called the killings unimaginably painful as the nation, usually known for low crime, confronts one of its deadliest attacks in recent years. Celebrations erupted at the ruling party headquarters in Pristina as acting Kosovo Prime Minister Albin Kurti claimed victory in Sunday's snap parliamentary election. Preliminary results show Kurti's self-determination party sweeping nearly 50% of the vote, far ahead of the opposition, putting him on track for another term. Supporters gathered outside the party office, chanting Kurti's name as he vowed to quickly form a new parliament and government after months of political deadlock. All right, viewers, let's move on to our next top story. Now, hundreds of Syrians gathered outside the mosque that had been bombed to mourn the victims who were killed in the attack. Despite the rain and cold weather, the crowd gathered in the Wadi al-Dahab neighborhood, where the Alawite community predominantly lives. Before burying the victims, here's a quick report on that.
Hundreds of mourners gathered in the Wadi al-Dahab neighborhood to bury the victims who died in the mosque bombing. Despite the rain and the cold weather, the crowd, predominantly from the Alawite minority community, assembled outside the mosque in the Syrian city of Homs. Preliminary investigation revealed that a bomb was planted inside the mosque, resulting in the death of 8 people and injuring 80. 2 women from the crowd raised religious chants pointing to the ambulance. A little-known group called Saraya Ansar al-Sunnah claimed responsibility for the attack, stated that the attack targeted the Alawites, who were considered as apostates. The same group had claimed responsibility for a suicide attack in a church in Damascus that killed 25 people.
But viewers, let's move on to next top story. Israeli forces launched an operation in the occupied West Bank town of Kabatia on Saturday, following a deadly attack in northern Israel. Israeli authorities say the suspect was from Kabatia, prompting the crackdown. Residents say the operation has effectively placed the town under a strict lockdown.
Israeli armored vehicles entered Kabatia early Saturday, blocking roads and sealing entrances to the town with dirt barriers. The operation followed an attack in northern Israel a day early. According to Israeli authorities, a Palestinian man rammed a car into a man and then stabbed a young woman on Friday, killing both. The attacker was shot and injured in Afula and taken to hospital. His condition was not immediately known. Residents say Israeli soldiers carried out house searches and detained several people during the operation.
طلعنا من برا حطني بالساحه وكلفشني لورا وبعد اخذنا على الجيب وغمغمني بعد اخذنا على الدار بحد اهل العمليه اهل بيته وبعد فوتنا جوا وصار يسال فينا كيف العمليه وكيف العمليه وما حدا يحكي لنا بدي يحكي بدي ينضرب يعني كان كلنا يلا هسه اقعدوا هون على جنب وبعد قعدنا حوالي 4 ساعات كان كلنا يلا اطلعوا برا حل العصبات عنا وكلنا يلا من هون وعلى البيت.
One resident's strict siege was imposed in the city, as he said.
البلد تعرضت من مساء امس امبارح لحصار مشدد بدا بالتدريج وادى الى منع تجول خانق وبعدين اغلاق جميع مداخل قباطي بالسواتر الترابيه مثل ما انتم شايفين.
The Israeli army said it conducted what is called a precise operational search at the suspect's residence together with intelligence forces and was preparing to demolish the home.
اعلنوا منع تجول مشدد يعني انا ما قدرتش اطلع من بيتي لما سمعت هي انا في باب تحكوا معي وانا في باب بيتي حكوا انه في مسكر عليك الشارع الرئيسي مسكر في حواجز ترابيه فخرجت بدي اخذ اخوي على المستشفى كيف بدي اطلع طريق مسكره شايف فيعني انت بتعاقب 30,000 نسمه.
Local officials and residents say the town has been under a strict siege since Friday evening, with all main roads blocked. Residents say the curfew has prevented even access to the hospitals and basic services.
In central Gaza, displaced families are struggling against bitter cold and fresh rain with little to no shelter. Many have been living in makeshift tents for months, even years, and each bout of rain brings renewed danger. Here's the full report on that.
Cold weather hangs over Gaza's camps as displaced families brace for more rain, as most shelters are weak tops and already worn out after months of use.
عايشين في الخيمة هذه إلنا سنتين، فكل مطر بتنزل وبتتكسر علينا بنحاول نحطها بخشبة جديدة. في ظل الغلا اللي احنا عايشين فيه لا في نجيب يعني فيش لنا دخل. إن احنا نقدر نجيب لأطفالنا أواعي، نقدر نجيب لهم فراش يناموا عليه زي الناس لما فراشنا غرق مية. الحمد لله يعني الوضع اللي احنا فيه سيء. خيمتنا مكسرة، ممزعة من هنا ومن هان، كل شتاء بتنزل الخيمة بنرجع نعدلها تاني.
Across central Gaza, thousands live in similar conditions: soaked floors, leaking roofs, and no protection from freezing temperatures.
قاعدين في خيمة والسقع بتاكلنا وأنا عندي مريضة كانسر وما بتقدرش على البرد وما فيش إلها لا أواعي ولا مأوى ولا أي حاجة وبنغرق كل شتاء بنغرق.
Parents collect scraps like nylon and cardboard to make fires and keep children warm.
بلم نايلون من الشارع بروح وبلم كرتون بلم شوية بلاستيك عشان أدفيهم من السقع. فيش غطا عندهم يعني وشايف بهدلة وبلم نايلون من ها بسوي عشان ايش امشي حالي ادفيهم من السقع. ثلج الدنيا عارف كمان شويه انا بنحمد الله شويه شمست ثلج هنا رطوبه عاليه ميه من هان تنزل ميه مش عارف ايش.
Gaza's health ministry says dozens, including children, have died from hypothermia or collapses of damaged homes. With nearly 80% of buildings destroyed or damaged, safe shelter is scarce. In the last 48 hours, 29 bodies were recovered from rubble. Since the ceasefire on October 11th, 414 people have been killed and over 1,100 wounded. Overall deaths in the war have crossed 71,000, according to the ministry, whose figures are considered to be reliable by the UN. The war began in October 2023 after the Hamas-led attack in Israel that killed about 1,200 people.
Private equity inflows into Indian real estate eased in 2025, down 29% year-on-year, but office assets remained the clear favorite. Knight Frank India says over $2 billion or 58% of all PE inflows went into office properties, keeping overall real estate investments at $3.5 billion. Investors stayed cautious amid a recalibration of capital costs, exit visibility and valuations, even as macro indicators improved. India's BFSI sector is entering a phase of steady but selective growth. At Antique Stock Broking's BFSI conference, lenders highlighted a clear shift, prioritizing asset quality and profitability over aggressive expansion. Credit demand is stable but largely focused on secured retail products like home loans, MSME loans, gold loans and LAP, while unsecured and corporate lending remain muted. Global investment bank Jefferies has raised its allocation to India and Taiwan while trimming weightage for China and Indonesia. In its Asia-Pacific ex-Japan strategy, the bank increased India's recommended weighting to 17%, cutting stronger earnings visibility and structural growth drivers, even as other regional markets face macro challenges. Ahead of Q3 financial year 26 earnings, SBI, ICICI Bank and HDFC Bank have emerged as the top banking stock picks. A Dewan Choksi report expects strong mid-teen loan growth driven by retail and SME, with ICICI and HDFC Bank standing out for their consistent asset quality, momentum and superior return ratios. India's forex reserves jumped $4.37 billion to $693.32 billion, closing in on the record levels of 2024. The increase was led by higher foreign currency assets and a sharp rise in gold reserves, which now stand at $110.36 billion. The RBI says reserves comfortably cover more than 11 months of imports, underscoring external sector resilience. All right, moving on to our next top story. At least 15 people were killed when a passenger bus plunged into a ravine along Guatemala's Inter-American Highway. The crash prompted a large-scale overnight rescue operation and led the president to declare days of national mourning.
Emergency crews worked through the night at the scene of the crash in the western Guatemala. Volunteer firefighters were seen standing near bodies covered with blankets after the bus fell into a deep ravine. Authorities say the passenger bus lost control while traveling along the Inter-American Highway and plunged around 100 meters into a ravine near the 174-kilometer mark. Officials confirmed that 15 people were killed in the accident, including men, women and a minor.
Y se oficializan datos ya después de 2 horas con 30 minutos de ardua labor de 10 compañías de la región de Occidente, por lo cual se oficializan 15 personas fallecidas luego de este accidente de tránsito tipo colectivo. Hablamos de 11 hombres, 3 mujeres y una menor de edad fallecidas.
Emergency vehicles and rescue teams remained at the scene as authorities worked to clear the wreckage. President Bernardo declared 3 days of national mourning, expressing condolences to the victims' family and saying the government was coordinating assistance for those affected. At the end, it has to be said that traffic accident involving public transportation remains a major concern in Guatemala.
Former Australian fast bowler Brett Lee was so consumed by the pursuit of speed that as a 9-year-old he set himself a singular goal to touch 160 kilometers per hour. For him, nothing else mattered, not personal milestones or even shattering the stumps of the finest batters, as long as he could reach the magical number. Now 49 and newly inducted into the Australian Cricket Hall of Fame, Lee reflected on how he devoted his life to that dream while acknowledging the role of his mother Helen, a sprinter, for passing on the genetics that made it possible. Kieron Pollard's explosive batting following a dominant display from the spinners powered MI Emirates into the top 2 of the ILT20 with a commanding 8-wicket victory over the Dubai Capitals. The spin duo once again delivered, with Ala Ghazanfar claiming 3 wickets and Shakib Al Hassan producing a miserly spell of 111 in 4 overs, restricting the Capitals to just 122 for 8. Pollard then sealed the win in style, smashing an unbeaten 44 of 31 balls, including 1 boundary and 5 towering sixes. As MI Emirates registered their 5th consecutive triumph of the season, they now face Desert Vipers in Qualifier 1 on December 30th. Melbourne Cricket Ground head curator Matthew Page admitted that he was in a state of shock after 20 wickets tumbled on the opening day of the Boxing Day Test, acknowledging that the surface was overwhelmingly tilted in favour of the bowlers. Page revealed he had left 10 mm of grass on the pitch. French cinema icon of the 1960s, Brigitte Bardot, who later reinvented herself as a fierce animal rights activist, has died at the age of 91. Tributes have begun pouring in outside her home in Saint-Tropez. Here's the full report on that.
Brigitte Bardot, one of the most recognizable faces of 20th century cinema, passed away at her home in southern France. Bardot became an international sensation at just 22 with the 1956 film And God Created Woman. Her sensual, rebellious image catapulted her to global superstardom, making her the model for Marianne, the national symbol of France. She starred in more than 28 films, but Contempt, directed by Jean-Luc Godard, remains her most critically acclaimed work. After retiring from films at 39, Bardot transformed into a militant animal rights activist. She campaigned against seal hunting, laboratory testing, and animal slaughter practices, earning France's Legion of Honor in 1985. But her outspoken views later took a darker turn, as she was convicted 5 times for inciting racial hatred over comments targeting immigrants and Muslims, controversies that overshadowed her legacy. Fans gathered outside her Saint-Tropez villa, laying flowers and photos at a barricaded memorial. Bardot had lived in near seclusion for decades, choosing a quiet life devoted to animal welfare. Despite the controversies of her later years, for many she remains an enduring symbol of French cinema, beauty and rebellion.
All right, viewers, coming up next, Supreme Court to hear suo motu case on Arrawali definition, hearing before vacation bench today. SC to also hear CBI's appeal against suspension of life sentence granted to Kuldeep Singh Sengar today.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला। सिप सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।
Amity has been ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally, a testimony to Amity's globally benchmarked quality.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये ही तो है इसकी खास बात।
वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है?
अरे मेरे राजा,
मसाला।
MDH की देगी मिर्च,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मिर्च।
We just now felt this entire mountain shiver because there are blasts going on. As we were telling you, usually for the limestone mining, the acceptable range of the blast is around 1 meter. And that won't be so harsh that we could feel this entire mountain, feel shake. Yes, definitely. And the kind of, because for cement mining, they need a blast of a larger range of something around 50 meters or 60 meters, and when that happens, we were not able to show you, but because that is very frequent between 2 to 3 p.m. we'll try to get that on camera for you guys. But while I was speaking to you, I could feel this mountain shake. So that is the range, and all of this is illegal, Shivam. All of this, the range of those blasts which is used in those mining, the kind of trucks that you see on the other end, which are carrying those residual pebbles, those are also they are not legally allowed to sell those, but they're not only doing illegal work, they're also making double profit out of whatever is left here. They're making profit illegally out of the Arrawali hills, the lungs of the Delhi NCR, the whole.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
मेरी चिमनी टूट जाएगी। What are you doing?
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल। ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े। क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
We are willing to put an end to this conflict via peaceful means based on the principles that I outlined in July last year when I spoke at the Foreign Ministry of Russia.
Putin squarely blamed Kyiv for the failure of peace negotiations, accusing Ukraine's leadership of refusing dialogue.
Statements from Zelensky that he is not prepared to discuss territory issues. At the moment, we don't see their readiness. I would like to remind where it all began.
From Asia's largest news headquarters,
setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Very good morning, viewers. You're watching live and breaking on Republic TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Well, it is a big day in the Supreme Court today because there are two important hearings that are going to take place in the Supreme Court. One related to the Unnao rape case and the other related to the definition of Arrawali Hills. So are we going to see a new definition of Arrawali Hills? We'll get you all the updates as when they unfold. Here's a look at the headlines first that we are tracking at this hour. Supreme Court to hear a suo motu case on Arrawali definition. Hearing before the vacation bench today at 10:30. All eyes now on Supreme Court hearing today, which could redefine the Arrawali definition. Supreme Court to hear CBI's appeal against suspension of a life sentence granted to Kuldeep Singh Sengar today. NCP SP goes solo in BMC polls. Ajit Pawar announces reunion with Sharad Pawar faction in Pimpri Chinchwad polls. Election Commission releases Uttar Pradesh's draft electoral rolls after special intensive revision. Nearly 2.8 crore names deleted. And Zelensky and Trump hold high-stakes peace talks in Florida amid intensifying Russian strikes on Kiev. Viewers, ahead of the Supreme Court hearing today on the Arrawali definition, now Republic has uncovered a fresh case of illegal mining in the Arrawali range of Rajasthan, dangerously close to an eco-sensitive zone near the sacred Guru Shikhar. Now, Republic reporter Swarali on ground found vast stretches of barren and excavated land, discolored water in the river basin, allegedly due to blasting chemicals, and fresh tractor tracks pointing to recent illegal activity there. Now, despite strict environmental regulations, mining appears to be taking place there in broad daylight, with the stones excavated and swiftly transported even before the authorities arrive. This ground report exposes not just environmental damage but also a serious lapse in enforcement, threatening one of India's oldest mountain ranges. Here's a look at this exclusive report.
Across the border of this mining zone, no stone is to be found. Color of this water is such because of the chemicals which are used to blast in these mines. These are totally illegal. They started vacating the place. We saw some tractors moving around which were far, and that's why we could not capture it in the video. But we can see this wheel track is very, very fresh. These are the fresh visuals. And this is how there are several such pits across the region.
This illegal mining site is located just a few kilometers from an eco-sensitive zone near the sacred Guru Shikhar in Rajasthan.
And if we see in the front, the entire Arrawali range, that is protected because it's the eco-sensitive zone. But through our visuals, we can see just few kilometers away from the eco-sensitive zone, which is preserved, and very strict rules are observed over there. This is the situation right near the same Arrawali range. These were also few feet mountains, hills, which are totally vanished. They are excavated. They have been illegally mining different sorts of material. We can see through the visuals, the stones are being collected. There's this path from where the tractors and the dumpers travel upside and take away the sand, stones, cement, the raw material which is required to make all the construction materials. All of that is illegally mined from this area.
Despite strict regulations, the land you see on your screen is completely barren, with a few stones lying around, perhaps about to be loaded on the tractors. The same tractors that just vanished. This is still an eco-sensitive zone, right next to the sacred peak, one of the highest in the Arrawalis. So how do these fraudsters manage to do such damage in yawning broad daylight? Hear it directly from our Republic reporter, Sorali, on ground.
Try and zoom into this area. There are fresh watermarks. We can see people were over here because we saw them escaping through another route. And there was a bike on the other side of this site. He was totally trying to track and monitor our movement. There was also another site where we tried to peek into, and the bulldozers, the tractors stopped moving. The time we were approaching the site, we could hear the noises and they were operational. But the moment we stepped in on the hillside from where we can get the view, they had stopped functioning. This region is very, very close to Mount Abu, which is the highest peak of Arrawali hill range, which is around billions of years ago, which was formed even before the human existence. And we have got to know that this area is under the jurisdiction of UIT, that is Urban Improvement Trust of Abu region. And I'm also going to walk through the another side of this patch, which is also excavated totally. And there are several such pits across the area. But this is the previous site. The work is not going on right now. But even from these area, material including stones, sand, it was mined from this region as well. Because there are the paths we can see, if we can zoom in, the paths which are made to take away all the material which is mined. When we try to talk to locals, they have told us that mining basically takes place in the night time, and then during the morning hours, dumpers, tractors, trucks carry them away. And it's very, very shocking to see. Usually when we are reporting the examples of illegal mining, what these mining companies do is that they take a lease of certain area and then they excavate more than that, or they go deeper above the permissible limits. But this is entirely different picture. There is no sign of lease which is being given, or there is no ML number which is provided for the area and period of lease. This is totally illegal mining. The site is very near to Mount Abu and to river called West Banas.
No intimidation will halt our reportage. This is Republic on ground. No fear, only truth.
And viewers, another big case in the Supreme Court today. The top court is set to hear the CBI's plea today, challenging the Delhi High Court's order granting conditional bail to rape convict Kuldeep Singh Sengar in the Unnao rape case. The High Court's decision has triggered widespread outrage, with the survivor and the women's rights activists once again taking to the streets. In New Delhi's Jantar Mantar, there was huge protests on Sunday as demonstrators demanded justice and raised concerns over the survivors and her family members' safety. Here's a detailed report.
Anger and anguish on the streets of the national capital as women rights activists and supporters of the Unnao rape survivor gathered at Jantar Mantar to protest against the Delhi High Court's bail order in favor of Kuldeep Singh Sengar.
Viewers, Republic is here at Jantar Mantar, and just behind me you can see that the rape victim, the Unnao rape victim, is here, and she was not allowed to go inside for protests because she said that allegedly she was not given the permission to, and currently Kuldeep Sengar got bail from the court just a few days ago. Since then, this Unnao rape victim has come on the roads and has been protesting against the bail. The CBI has approached the Supreme Court in this matter, and tomorrow, that is on Monday 29th December, the Supreme Court is set to hear this case. We will see what turn this case takes. Does the Supreme Court decide in the favor of the Unnao rape victim, or does the Supreme Court works in the favor of Kuldeep Sengar?
The protest comes just a day ahead of the Supreme Court hearing, where the CBI will challenge the High Court's decision to suspend Sengar's life sentence. In what is being seen as a significant outcome of the sustained public pressure and relentless media scrutiny, the Supreme Court has agreed to urgently hear the CBI special leave petition filed against the bail order.
मुझे लगता है कि अगर उनकी तबीयत स्टेबल हो गई तो वो घर जाएंगे, और अगर लगा कि नहीं ज़्यादा खराब है तो हम अस्पताल जाएंगे। अभी नहीं पता, अभी हमें उनको भी दोनों फेंट हो गई, मम्मी भी उसकी फेंट हो गई और माँ और बेटी दोनों फेंट हो गए।
The Unnao rape survivor, accompanied by supporters, reiterated her demand for justice and security, stating that her family has faced continuous threats and intimidation since Sengar was granted bail. The protest intensified as activists questioned the impact of the bail order on the survivor's safety, pointing to previous instances where she and her family were allegedly harassed even in public spaces. With hope now pinned on the apex court, the survivor and her supporters await today's hearing, raising the crucial question: will justice finally prevail in the Supreme Court or not?
Viewers, the key developments in the Unnao rape case has raised a very, very important question. Why strict laws are now not ending rape in India? Well, the Delhi High Court's decision to suspend the life sentence of former BJP MLA Kuldeep Singh Sengar in the 2017 Unnao rape case, granting him conditional bail, has sparked widespread protests and public outrage. The case exemplifies the challenges in enforcing laws when the accused wields political power. Although the former MLA was convicted, the High Court suspended his sentence pending appeal, and the court ruled that prima facie an MLA really does not qualify as a public servant, a technical interpretation that excluded stricter aggravated penalties. And this ruling underscores how statutory definitions and political influence can intersect to delay justice. Well, the case which involved witness intimidation, the custodial death of the victim's father, and a trial transfer highlights the systemic hurdles in prosecuting influential figures in our country. Here's a detailed report.
The High Court has granted interim bail to former BJP leader Kuldeep Singh Sengar.
Today's day is extremely telling about where the scale of justice tilts in India.
सर उनकी कैंसिल की जाए, बेल खारिज की जाए, हमको उसी में न्याय मिलेगी, नहीं तो हमको न्याय नहीं मिलेगा।
The court, looking for a needle in the haystack to save Sengar, claims to have found one. 31-year-old Abhaya was brutally raped and murdered on the 9th of August.
TV actor Ashish Kapoor, arrested for allegedly raping a woman at a house party, has been granted bail. Who has been charged with rape has just got anticipatory bail.
This is a huge blow to the pursuit of justice.
India's rape laws are among the stringent in the world. The punishments are severe. The definitions are wide, and yet, when the accused is politically powerful, outcomes change. This is a story of how laws are navigated, stretched, and exploited when the accused hold political power. Rape is defined under Section 375 of the Indian Penal Code. After the Criminal Law Amendment Act of 2013, the definition was expanded to include acts beyond penile penetration and to recognize sexual violence committed through abuse of authority or coercion. Punishment is prescribed under Section 376. For rape of an adult woman, the minimum punishment is 10 years of rigorous imprisonment, which may extend to life imprisonment. If the victim is a minor, the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, that is POCSO, applies. Under the POCSO Act, rape of a child below 16 years carries a minimum punishment of 20 years, which may extend to life imprisonment for the remainder of natural life. In aggravated cases, however, including repeated rape or custodial rape, the law permits the death penalty. On paper, these are among the harshest and toughest sexual offense laws in the world. Procedure begins with the registration of a first information report. The Supreme Court has ruled repeatedly that an FIR registration in sexual offences cases is mandatory. Police officers who refuse or delay registration can themselves face disciplinary and criminal action. And after the FIR, the survivor must be sent for medical examination. Statements must be recorded under Section 161 of the Criminal Procedure Code. A magistrate must record a statement under Section 164. The police must file a charge sheet within 90 days, and the trial should then proceed. Well, this is the design. What the design does not account for is power and delays. The first legal loophole appears before the case even enters a courtroom, and this loophole is procedural discretion at the police level. Police control the timing, police control seriousness, police control momentum. The law assumes neutrality, but the political power or money power erodes it. The Unnao rape case exposes this with brutal clarity. In June 2017, a 17-year-old girl accused Kuldeep Singh Sengar, a sitting MLA from Uttar Pradesh, of abducting and raping her. Despite the gravity of the allegation and the involvement of a minor, the FIR was allegedly delayed. Police initially framed the matter as a dispute. During this period, Sengar remained free. During the same period, the victim's father was arrested on unrelated charges and later died in police custody. The family alleged custodial assault. No court had yet ruled on the guilt, but the machinery of pressure had already moved. This delay was not a violation of black letter law. It was a violation of justice. Delay matters because sexual offense cases are evidence sensitive. Medical findings weaken with time. Witnesses are vulnerable to intimidation. Digital evidence disappears. Delay almost always favors the accused. Only after the survivor attempted self-immolation outside the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister's residence did the case explode into public consciousness. That act forced intervention from the Supreme Court. The investigation was transferred to the Central Bureau of Investigation. The trial was moved out of Uttar Pradesh to Delhi. Witness protection was ordered and a fast-track court was established. This needs to be understood clearly. None of this was routine. This is the judiciary stepping in because the ordinary system has failed. In 2019, a Delhi court convicted Kuldeep Singh Sengar under Section 376 of the IPC and under provisions of the POCSO Act. He was sentenced to life imprisonment, and he was also convicted in a separate case relating to a custodial death of the victim's father. For the public, this looked like justice delivered. Legally, it was just only halfway. The second loophole is embedded deep within the criminal procedure. This is the appellate structure. Every convicted person in India has a statutory right to appeal. During the pendency of an appeal, higher courts have the power to suspend the sentence. Now, suspension does not erase conviction, it just pauses the punishment. This safeguard exists to prevent irreversible harm if in case the conviction is later overturned. The problem is not the safeguard, the problem is time. India's appellate courts are overburdened. Criminal appeals often take 5 to 10 years to reach final adjudication. This is exacerbated by the overall court backlog in India, with over 53 million pending cases, including more than 1 crore criminal matters, contributing to prolonged delays in appellate processes. The Supreme Court alone has approximately 80,000 pending cases. And during this period, suspension of sentence effectively becomes temporary freedom. In late 2024, the High Court suspended Kuldeep Singh Sengar's life sentence and granted him bail pending appeal. In a recent development on December 23, 2025, the Delhi High Court confirmed the suspension of his life sentence and granted bail pending the appeal, allowing him temporary freedom while the case continues. The conviction still stands, the punishment does not. Well, this decision followed existing law. It exposed the law's weakness. In Unnao, extreme public pressure forced extraordinary judicial intervention. Even then, appellate law diluted punishment. This is how powerful people get away. Not by breaking the law, by navigating it better than anyone else could. The data supports this reality. According to the National Crime Records Bureau of India, India records more than 30,000 rape cases annually. In 2023, approximately 85 rape cases were reported daily, totaling around 31,000 cases for the year. The national conviction rate for rape has consistently hovered between 25 and 30% over the last decade. Recent data from 2022 shows an acquittal rate of 65.14% in rape cases, with conviction rates ranging between 27 to 28% from 2018 to 2022. For 2023, the conviction rate remained around 28%. Furthermore, in 2022, there were 198,285 rape cases awaiting trial, and only 18,517 were completed, underscoring the severe judicial backlog. This means that in nearly 3 out of 4 cases, the accused is either acquitted or the trial fails to conclude with conviction. These figures include ordinary cases. In cases involving powerful accused, the structural advantages are greater. Recognizing this imbalance, the Supreme Court in 2017 directed the establishment of special courts to fast-track criminal cases against members of parliament and members of legislative assemblies. These courts were meant to prioritize cases involving elected representatives, including serious offences like rape. Hundreds of such cases remain pending despite this intervention. As of 2024, there are 151 sitting MPs and MLAs facing cases related to crimes against women, with 16 charged specifically with rape under IPC Section 376. Among these, West Bengal tops the list with 25 such lawmakers, followed by Andhra Pradesh with 21. This reveals another layer of loophole. Even when special mechanisms are created, they rely on the same police, the same prosecutors, and the same institutional ecosystem. Political influence does not need to enter the courtroom. It operates before that point. Police answer to state governments. Prosecutors are appointed by governments. Transfers and postings depend on political discretion. None of this is illegal. All of it just shapes the outcome. Then there is endurance. Criminal trials in India are long. Appeals are longer. Legal battles require money, safety, and emotional stamina. Most victims cannot fight for 10 years. Politicians can. Consent law adds another layer. Courts still evaluate consent through conduct. Delay in reporting is questioned. Continued contact is misinterpreted. Fear is treated as ambiguity. The law asks why the woman did not leave. It rarely asks what leaving would have cost her. That question does not exist in a statute. The absence is itself a loophole. What emerges is not a conspiracy, it's a structure where procedure overweighs context, a structure where time favors the accused, a structure where power controls the institutions, a structure where appeals dilute punishment, a structure where silence becomes survival. By the time a verdict arrives, the damage is complete. The law promises justice, the process delivers exhaustion. And in the space between promise and the process, power survives. That space is the legal loophole.
Viewers, we're taking a short break, and coming up ahead, the big story from Maharashtra. NCP SP goes solo in BMC polls. Ajit Pawar announces reunion with Sharad Pawar faction in Pimpri Chinchwad polls. All the details on that big story and much more is coming up after a short commercial break. Stay with us.
Powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
MDH की देगी मीरज,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मीरज।
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड में मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा, मसाला।
मेरी चिमनी टूट जाएगी। What are you doing?
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
We just now felt this entire mountain shiver because there are blasts going on. As we were telling you, usually for the limestone mining, the acceptable range of the blast is around 1 meter. And that won't be so harsh that we could feel this entire mountain, feel shake. Yes, definitely. And the kind of, because for cement mining, they need a blast of a larger range of something around 50 meters or 60 meters, and when that happens, we were not able to show you, but because that is very frequent between 2 to 3 p.m. we'll try to get that on camera for you guys. But while I was speaking to you, I could feel this mountain shake. So that is the range, and all of this is illegal, Shivam. All of this, the range of those blasts which is used in those mining, the kind of trucks that you see on the other end, which are carrying those residual pebbles, those are also they are not legally allowed to sell those, but they're not only doing illegal work, they're also making double profit out of whatever is left here. They're making profit illegally out of the Arrawali hills, the lungs of the Delhi and
Supreme Court to hear suo motu case on Arrawali definition. Hearing before vacation bench today at 10:30 a.m. All eyes now on Supreme Court hearing today, which could redefine the Arrawali definition. Supreme Court to hear CBI's appeal against suspension of life sentence granted to Kuldeep Singh Sengar today. NCP SP goes solo in BMC polls. Ajit Pawar announces reunion with Sharad Pawar faction in the Pimpri-Chinchwad polls. Election Commission releases Uttar Pradesh's draft electoral rules after special intensive revision. Nearly 2.8 crore names deleted. And Donald Trump and Zelensky hold high-stakes peace talks in Florida amid intensifying Russian strikes on Kiev. We have big breaking news coming in from Tamil Nadu, where a migrant worker from Madhya Pradesh was brutally attacked with sickles by 4 miners in the state's Thiruvallur district, leaving him critically injured. The incident, which was recorded on a mobile phone by the attackers themselves, has sparked outrage after the video surfaced and went viral on social media. The video also showed one of the attackers flashing a victory sign after the assault. Now, the victim, identified as Siraj from Madhya Pradesh, is a migrant worker in Tamil Nadu, and he was first targeted by the group of 4 men while travelling on a moving train. The accused are all miners who allegedly threatened him with sickles and swords during the journey from Chennai to Thiruvallur, and they even recorded a video. Now, video of them threatening and beating up the man went viral on social media. Siraj sustained severe injuries in the attack and is currently undergoing treatment at a hospital. His condition is described as critical. The police are now probing the attack and the investigations are underway. All right, Sharda, my colleague, is now joining us live from Chennai for more details. Sharda, what are the details emerging in the case? Would like to know from you, how is the condition of this migrant worker right now? What investigations are police doing? And any idea of what really happened there?
Well, Aishwarya, as you can see in the video, the miners were under the influence of drugs. They had smoked up ganja, according to the police. The Railway Protection Force also noted that all the miners were under the influence of drugs and alcohol. And in terms of taking a video for Instagram Reel, they had recorded dancing throughout the train. The train had left from Chennai Central to Tirupati, and in Thiruvallur is when these boys had boarded the train, and under the influence of drugs, they were recording videos as attacking the North Indian migrant who had come here for work. And the injured Siraj is now admitted in the hospital in Thiruvallur, the government hospital, and he's in critical condition. The police have now detained all 4 miners, and all 4 are set to go to the prison for judiciary very soon. And this is we're getting. Police are also stating that an FIR might not be filed, but only the miners would be detained and be kept in the prison until Siraj is discharged and a court case will be taken place.
Right. Sharda, would like to know from you, has police been able to get any information about these 4 miners? Because, you know, it's absolutely shocking. Not only are they assaulting the man violently, but they also, you know, recorded the entire sequence of events on a camera, which shows that clearly they have no fear of law or authorities there.
Well, the police have got all the information on the 4 miners, but however, they're not revealing it, saying that they are minors and are detained and will be sent to the prison very soon after the court case is heard. Whatever the other, the Railway Protection Police are saying that under the influence of drugs and alcohol, do this be there for protection. Being a Sunday yesterday, not many police forces were deployed, and this is what the police says, that being it a Sunday, the 4 miners had used it as an opportunity to attack the migrant worker, and also stated that there is no any animosity between them. It was just that they had recorded during the train travel and found a target as they were high on drugs. And the police also pointed out, telling that the easy availability of ganja in the state of Tamil Nadu, and said that action would be taking place on that as well. A drug racket is being planned by the Tamil Nadu police for the longer time, but there's not been implementation, which has now led to this.
All right. Thank you so much, Sharda, for getting us all those inputs on that big story. All right, viewers, we have more breaking news coming in right now. Ernakulam Moncho has issued a 24-day ultimatum for the trial of Hardy's killers, and work permits of Indians must be suspended. This is what the Ernakulam Moncho is saying, filing a case against India in an international court if it refuses to return the convicted asylum seekers. Ernakulam Moncho has pressed the government to complete the trial of Sharif Osman bin Hadi's murder within 24 days. Abdullah Al-Jaber, who is the member secretary of the platform, announced the ultimatum from Shahbag in Dhaka. Let me quote him. The trial of the entire killing squad, including the killer, the mastermind, the accomplices, those who aided the escape and those who provided shelter must be completed within the next 24 days. The platform also pressed home its 3-point demand, including suspending the work permits of Indians residing in Bangladesh to protect the independence and sovereignty of Bangladesh. The work permits of Indians must be suspended, it said. It went on to say that their other demands include filing a case against India in an international court if it refuses to return the convicted asylum seekers, as well as identifying collaborators of fascists within the civil and military intelligence. All right, viewers, let's move on in the bulletin now. Republic has uncovered a fresh case of illegal mining in the Arrawali range of Rajasthan, very dangerously close to an eco-sensitive zone near the sacred Guru Shikhar. Well, Republic reporter Swarali on ground found vast stretches of barren and excavated land, discolored water in the river basin, allegedly due to blasting chemicals, and fresh tractor tracks which point to recent illegal activity there. Well, despite strict environmental regulations, mining appears to be taking place, and that too in broad daylight, with the stones excavated and swiftly transported before authorities arrive. This ground report exposes not just the environmental damage there, but a serious lapse in enforcement as well, threatening one of India's oldest mountain ranges. Here is Republic exclusive. Take a look.
Across the border of this mining zone, no stone is to be found. Color of this water is such because of the chemicals which are used to blast in these mines. These are totally illegal. They started vacating the place. We saw some tractors moving around which were far, and that's why we could not capture it in the video. But we can see this wheel track is very fresh. These are the fresh visuals, and this is how there are several such pits across the region.
This illegal mining site is located just a few kilometers from an eco-sensitive zone near the sacred Guru Shikhar in Rajasthan.
And if we see in the front, the entire Arrawali range, that is protected because it's the eco-sensitive zone. But through our visuals, we can see just few kilometers away from the eco-sensitive zone, which is preserved, and very strict rules are observed over there. This is the situation right near the same Arrawali range. These were also few feet mountains, hills, which are totally vanished. They are excavated. They have been illegally mining different sorts of material. We can see through the visuals, the stones are being collected. There's this path from where the tractors and the dumpers travel upside and take away the sand, stones, cement, the raw material which is required to make all the construction materials. All of that is illegally mined from this area.
Despite strict regulations, the land you see on your screen is completely barren, with a few stones lying around, perhaps about to be loaded on the tractors. The same tractors that just vanished. This is still an eco-sensitive zone, right next to the sacred peak, one of the highest in the Arrawalis. So how do these fraudsters manage to do such damage in yawning broad daylight? Hear it directly from our Republic reporter, Sorali, on ground.
Try and zoom into this area. There are fresh watermarks. We can see people were over here because we saw them escaping through another route. And there was a bike on the other side of this site. He was totally trying to track and monitor our movement. There was also another site where we tried to peek into, and the bulldozers, the tractors stopped moving. The time we were approaching the site, we could hear the noises and they were operational. But the moment we stepped in on the hillside from where we can get the view, they had stopped functioning. This region is very close to Mount Abu, which is the highest peak of Arrawali hill range, which is around billions of years ago, which was formed even before the human existence. And we have got to know that this area is under the jurisdiction of UIT, that is Urban Improvement Trust of Abu region. And I'm also going to walk through the another side of this patch, which is also excavated totally. And there are several such pits across the area. But this is the previous site. The work is not going on right now. But even from these area, material including stones, sand, it was mined from this region as well. Because there are the paths we can see, if we can zoom in, the paths which are made to take away all the material which is mined. When we try to talk to locals, they have told us that mining basically takes place in the night time, and then during the morning hours, dumpers, tractors, trucks carry them away. And it's very shocking to see. Usually when we are reporting the examples of illegal mining, what these mining companies do is that they take a lease of certain area and then they excavate more than that, or they go deeper above the permissible limits. But this is entirely different picture. There is no sign of lease which is being given, or there is no ML number which is provided for the area and period of lease. This is totally illegal mining. The site is very near to Mount Abu and to river called West Banas.
No intimidation will halt our reportage. This is Republic on ground. No fear, only truth.
All right, viewers, as Republic continues to bring you the ground reports, the Supreme Court is all set to hear the Arrawali Hills matter today in a short while from now, following widespread protests and, of course, Republic TV's continuous campaign against the court-approved definition of the Arrawali Hills and a ban on new mining leases. And this case will be heard by a 3-judge vacation bench led by Chief Justice of India Surya today. All right, we'll try to connect with our reporter who is going to track all the developments in the case, but it is going to be, of course, a big day in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is going to hear a case on the new definition of Arrawali Hills and other issues linked to it. Remember, the court took the matter on its own, which means a suo motu case, and a 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court, which is led by the Chief Justice of India, Surya Kant, is going to hear the case. So in about 1 hour from now, the court will start hearing the case. The case has been listed as the definition of Arrawali Hills and mountain ranges and related issues. Remember, this entire controversy began after the centre notified a new definition of the Arrawali range. And for now, though, the Supreme Court has put a hold on the new leases for mining in the Arrawlis. But it is going to be crucial whether there is going to be a relook now, of course, into the definition of the Arrawali Hill. Is there going to be a change in it? Now, those who are opposing the centre's new definition allege that it was done without scientific assessment and public consultation. And in fact, Republic TV reporters have also been going and they have been covering the areas along the Arrawali range in Rajasthan, Delhi, as well as in Haryana, and showing you all the activities that are going on there, the illegal mining activities that are going on, and how rules are being flouted, as well as the people there are also expressing concern and saying that they've never been consulted, they have not been talked to. So the government has said that it will identify additional areas and zones in the entire Arrawlis where mining should be prohibited. But what is going to happen in the Supreme Court today is going to be very crucial. The Supreme Court has already intervened in the row because it is going to hear the matter suo moto. And this, of course, after a new definition of the Arrawali range, which caused protests. And this is what Republic TV has also been covering on the ground, bringing you exclusive details of what really is happening along the Arrawali range in several states of the country, including Rajasthan and Haryana, as well as in the national capital. The activists as well as the common men are questioning how this new definition is going to be absolutely dangerous, not only for the ecology, but for the climate as well. And there's also questions over if this could pave the way for unregulated mining along the entire Arrawali range. Shambhavi, my colleague, is now joining us for more details. Shambhavi, a big day in the Supreme Court. Of course, you have been covering the story from the ground. What can we expect today to happen in the court?
Well, definitely this is a very significant day because a decision which was given by the Supreme Court, the acceptance of the new definition of the Arrawali Hills, will now be reconsidered in the court by the Chief Justice's bench. And there we are expecting, definitely hoping for some good news where some consideration would be given to this. Just for our viewers' information, originally the government proposed a new definition of the Arrawali Hills, which included that no mountain which is below the height of 100 meters will be considered to be a part of the entire Arrawali range. An Arrawali range width expands to more than hundreds of kilometers throughout several states. Now, what would that do is that any mountain that would not qualify, which is around 91% of the entire Arrawali range, will be open to mining, will be open to corporate affairs, will be open to construction, and it will lose its security, its protection. Now, there has been an uproar in the entire country regarding this decision, and Republic has been also running a campaign called Save Arrawalis. We've been reporting from ground. We've been showing the illegal mining which has been going on, rampant illegal mining which is going on in Rajasthan especially, as well as Haryana. And today, definitely we are expecting some good outcome from the hearing where the court is going to reconsider, where this court has taken suo moto cognizance of the matter of this new definition of Arrawalis. Back to you.
Absolutely, Shambhavi. You know, since you've been on the ground and reporting there from the Arrawali areas along the Arrawali Hills on your own, but you know, this is what the questions are being raised about, the new definition is not only going to, this is the big fear that everybody is pointing out, is also going to lead to unregulated mining. But the point is that you are on the ground and you have been showing us that despite the rules already in place, there are already rules that are being flouted, isn't it?
Definitely, and the kind of things, the reports that we have shown our audience, that predates this decision of the Supreme Court, that predates this decision for years now, because there has been unregulated mining. The NGT rule, where usually in a lot of places the mining is not allowed post-sunset, that is being broken left, right and center. Then there is also a lot of other ways in which the illegal mining has been going on under the garb of a legal lease. So that is what the ground reality is in a lot of places in Rajasthan and Haryana. And Republic has been showing our viewers that even before this decision was taken by the Supreme Court to accept the new definition, that has been the condition of the Arrawali range. Now imagine what will happen if more than 90% of the Arrawali range will lose its protection. Imagine the extent in which the hills can be wiped out and more way can be paved for construction and mining. Back to you.
All right, Shambhavi, thank you so much. We'll keep coming back to you because it is going to be a very, very crucial day in the Supreme Court today, as it takes a relook at the entire case now. And it has taken up the matter suo motu civil case. All right, viewers, we're taking a very short break, but news and updates continue on Republic TV. And coming up after the break, we'll get you the big story. And that is in the Unnao rape case. The Supreme Court is going to hear the CBI's plea on and challenging the court's order suspending the life sentence of Kuldeep Singh Sengar. All the details coming up ahead.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
Amity has been ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally, a testimony to Amity's globally benchmarked quality.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला। MDH
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा।
We are willing to put an end to this conflict via peaceful means based on the principles that I outlined in July last year when I spoke at the Foreign Ministry of Russia.
Putin squarely blamed Kyiv for the failure of peace negotiations, accusing Ukraine's leadership of refusing dialogue.
Statements from Zelensky that he is not prepared to discuss territory issues. At the moment, we don't see their readiness. I would like to remind where it all began.
Rejecting allegations against Russia, Putin claimed Moscow did not start the war. Putin blames roots of Ukraine conflict lie in 2014 anti-constitutional coup.
We did not start this war. This war began as a result of the anti-constitutional military coup in 2014 and then commencement of the military action against its own citizens in the southeast of Ukraine.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला।
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड, मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला। MDH।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
We just now felt this entire mountain shiver because there are blasts going on, as we were telling you.
Powered by Century Ply Club Prime, रहो बेफिक्र।
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड, मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, ये ही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा,
राजा प्योर मसाला। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
We are willing to put an end to this conflict via peaceful means based on the principles that I outlined in July last year when I spoke at the Foreign Ministry of Russia.
Putin squarely blamed Kyiv for the failure of peace negotiations, accusing Ukraine's leadership of refusing dialogue.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. watching Republic.
Supreme Court to hear suo moto case on Arrawali definition hearing before vacation bench today at 10:30. Now, sources say between SC decision, government's new licenses, hundreds of mining licenses issued. SC to hear CBI's appeal against suspension of life sentence granted to Kuldeep Singh Sengar today. Also, NCP SP goes solo in BMC polls. Ajit Pawar announces reunion with Sharad Pawar faction in Pimpri Chinchwad polls. EC releases Uttar Pradesh's draft electoral rolls after special intensive revision. Nearly 2.8 crore names deleted. Zelensky-Trump hold high-stakes peace talks in Florida amid intensifying Russian strikes on Kyiv.
All right, friends, as we build up to that moment when the Supreme Court, the topmost court of the country, takes up suo motu the whole case of Arrawali in the backdrop of the Supreme Court judgment of Chief Justice of India, the then Chief Justice of India, Justice Gawai, and takes up for review whether the definitions that were agreed to in that verdict or were decided in that verdict, are they really good? Are they really in the best interest of environment and ecology of the Arrawali ecosystem, spanning about 800 kilometers from the outskirts of the national capital right down to Gujarat, covering 4 states including Haryana and Rajasthan. Remember the kind of outcry that happened post that verdict about the definition that was incorporated in the Supreme Court verdict of November 20th, which effectively took out a great part of the entire Arrawali ecosystem outside the pale of protection and conservation, and left it open for mining, not just mining, but not just thoughtful mining, but even illegal mining, and a glimpse of which we are getting to you now. Big development emerging in the mining case, with fresh inputs now casting a sharp spotlight on licenses issued after the Supreme Court's order. So that really gives you an idea of the kind of dangers that go with this kind of liberal interpretation of the definition of what constitutes a mountain, what constitutes the Arrawali range. Remember, the order had said that anything below 100 meters is not a mountain, and that left it open for mining, sometimes legal, sometimes illegal. Now we have a development coming in which shows that despite the Supreme Court order trying to put restraints and constraints on mining of any kind, mining instructions and mining orders from the government continued. We have, in fact, a soundbite on this from an environment activist, Vimalendu Jha. Let's listen to him.
So the new documents that have emerged that clearly shows that despite the Supreme Court's order of 28th November almost banning mining in Arrawali region, almost 126 e-auctions were done in terms of mining sites, and more than 50 of them are actually in Alwar area. So when the Environment Minister says that the mining is completely banned, here we have evidence of, despite that Supreme Court's order, between 2nd December to almost like 16th December, more than 126 mining sites were e-auctioned, and more than 50 of them, almost 56 of them, were actually in Arrawali region. So therefore, there's some sort of a disharmony in terms of what the government claims and what reality is, that mining has been prevalent, and legal mining or legal plundering of Arrawalis was actually allowed, despite that so-called order being in place.
All right, let's try to understand what this means. That was Vimlendu Jha giving us a lowdown of what this new mining lease, what these new mining leases mean. We have another environmentalist joining us now live. It's Bhavareen Kandhari, and she also closely tracks the developments in Arrawali. Very good morning to you, Bhavareen. And mining in Arrawali is as old as the hills, as they say. I have myself, seen cases in various courts since at least 2007-8. I mean, the cases go back to 1990s. But what are your hopes as an environmentalist today when the Supreme Court is picking up a review of its own earlier order of November 20 in the light of the outcry that we have seen around the mining in Arrawali ranges?
Yes, this is, of course, a very significant judicial intervention reflecting, of course, the ecological and the legal stakes involved. And we hope, like all of us, we are hoping that it's the way it is, what we think it is. And we should create, now clear all the, various confusion and the various, stands that have been taken. So, clearly the Arrawali's need to be defined, by what we've all been saying, by ecology, continuity, science, function, and not by heights. Not only the Arrawali's, for that matter, anything that's nature. So this has been quite, confusing, and initially you couldn't even understand that why would anyone do this. And like you said just now, the mining is something that's always been happening. Now, curbing that means, it's obviously your failure of governance throughout all these years, that obviously the local authorities, the police, etc., who are not taking a stand, or rather who are probably involved in this, like we hear from the village residents, etc. So, those are absolutely two different things. So now with the, the Supreme Court, coming in, we hope that this can be absolutely dismissed, the height aspect. And also, I don't know how legally it will work, but if they can recall the order and, remove this, because this something like this can, maybe for now we are made to believe that it's not going to affect, but this is a very dirty game. Yeah.
Through the day we are going to continue to discuss this and, try to understand what really happened, what went into the mind of the topmost court at that time to have, given this window of, given this window to, the mining companies and the government to really exploit, a window of exploitation, if I could call it that way. But I'll come back to you, Bhavareen, because there are so many aspects to be discussed, including in the light of the latest document that we have access, which shows that at least 50, possibly more, mines were e-auctioned even after the Supreme Court verdict of November 20th. Let me go to Shambhavi. She has done some fantastic work on the ground around the Arrawali's in Rajasthan, and is back at the Supreme Court covering today's hearing, which is going to take place, I believe. Let's check with her. Shambhavi, what time is the case coming up? This is a vacation bench, and that really gives you an idea of the kind of seriousness with which the topmost court of the country has taken the outcry around Arrawali's.
Definitely, if we consider the timing at which this case has been taken up by Supreme Court, given that the court will resume its working days in just 4 days, and that could have very easily been waited for the next 4 days. But given the emergency and given the urgency of this topic, the Supreme Court decided to take suo motu cognizance of this matter today itself. And the case is expected somewhere around 11:20 to 11:30. There are total 8 or 9 items in the court's list today, and this matter is the 5th item, so we can expect it somewhere around 11:20 to 11:30. And also, if the case turns in the favor of saving the Arrawali's, or even making sure that there is a stay on the definition. An interim stay can be expected from the top court. So this is definitely a huge thing that the Supreme Court decided, even the fact that just 4 days later the court will officially resume its working days in full power, but the vacation bench chose to list this matter today urgently. Back to you.
Yeah, Shambhavi, one more question. Who all are going to be on the bench apart from Chief Justice Suryakant? And who are going to be arguing? Who are the petitioners who are going to be presenting their case from both the sides? Of course, the government would be represented by the Solicitor General, among others, and his team. But on the side of petitioners, who all are going to be appearing in the case? I think we lost the line there. Shambhavi, if you are getting me, my question was that if this is a bench, is it just Chief Justice Suryakant, or there are going to be more judges on the bench also, who all are going to be arguing on the side of the petitioners in the case? Shambhavi? I think we lost the line there with Shambhavi, so I'll go back to Bhavreen. And Bhavreen, we have seen a green bench sort of institutionalized at the Supreme Court since the 1990s, going back to Justice Kuldeep Singh in the MC, even earlier, in fact, in the MC Mehta case. And since then, we saw not a very activist green bench per se, but there would be some judges taking care of these cases. But in this present instance, a lot has been talked about the fact that perhaps the verdict did not really look at Arrawali's as an entire ecosystem, as an ecology that needs protected. The so-called precautionary principle that evolved over last 2-3 decades sort of was not given the kind of primacy that it should have been given while finalizing the order.
Yes, I mean, that's a very, interesting way to think also, because, it's not only Arrawali's in the past now, for a few years, whether we're talking about mining or we are talking about construction in Uttarakhand, excessive construction there in those ecologically sensitive zones, or even Himalayas. So, we are making more headlines, green headlines, than actually the real court orders that should be making this happen, the green, like you said, the green tone to actually come into our systems and our, work orders. So, yes, it's something that needs to be worked on. We can't just accept these everyday headlines coming and, slam and bam and all that. But it really needs to reflect in the court orders of exactly, stopping. Now, if the Arrawali is weakened, I mean, Delhi chokes, we're already choking. There's no way the Northern Belt will survive.
So what are the expectations really? What are the expectations, Bhavreen? Are you looking at a complete review of the judgment, the complete trashing of the definition of what constitutes a mountain in Arrawali? Or are you just looking at, say, a review of the kind where the lordships just say, okay, fine, let's put the whole judgment under the scrutiny of an expert committee and then decide, not take a call in a hurry now?
Yeah, it will not be in a hurry. That is surely, definitely knowing the, the courts the way they work. But yes, like Shambhavi just said, yeah, an interim stay and, further steps to actually now review the judgment, review the complete order, and especially on the the height front. And it's never that easy. It's never going to be. As citizens, we fall in this trap. We tend to think that things will happen overnight. It doesn't happen. The damage does happen somewhere. It will. There will be something coming out of here that will weaken the thing. So it's obviously shows that, but now is the time for the judiciary to actually, give a clear stand of how development versus environmental protection, who's going to favor? This is something the court must give in a clear, order, a clear way of showing that this is it. No more damage should be, not only in Arrawali's, it should be a precedent for the upcoming cases, etc. And like I said, it should reflect in the orders. It's very important now for the judiciary also to take this, firm stand of protecting, the last bit of ecology that we are fighting for. Yeah.
when the bench really gathers and takes up the matter, Bavreen, we have to really focus also on the fact that the kind of constraints that were really lifted and the psychological impact this has had on the executive in terms of the ease with which auctions have happened. The example of which is the document that we have accessed, about 100 plus mines auctioned, e-auctioned in the aftermath of the judgment itself between 2nd of December and 18th of December, of which 20 are in Alwar alone, 6 are in Jaipur, 7 are in Kotputli. These are districts of Rajasthan. 1 is in Jhunjhunu, 5 in Sirohi, 2 in Tijara, 6 in Bhilwara, 2 in Rajsamand, which is near Chittor, and then of course 1 in Dausa. So that takes the total to over 50, but overall about 120 mines auctioned in the period between 2nd of December to 18th of December. So you think at least in the barest minimum, at least a stay could be put by the bench today when the case comes up?
That, of course, there should be a stay, but also, I want to put something here, a perspective here. Why will this not happen? And why will this not repeat? Because what is it that actually is happening on the ground of people who are violating? What is happening to them? They are going scot-free. So nothing is going to change until the judiciary will take a stand and ensure that the people who are, even in a lot of contempt cases that come to the court, you're just letting them go scot-free. You're telling them to plant trees and, or just appreciate because of the 3-month case that they did, and they did something good, like, they did the job, and you let them go scot-free. The officers will have to be prosecuted. Unless you are not asked, you're not going to be punished, nothing is going to change. Yeah. So these are the deep rooted problems, and if the judiciary has to do their job, they will have to punish, prosecute only then, not only in this aspect, in every aspect. Every aspect. The failure of governance is also very clearly connected to the failure of judiciary.
There is, you are right, and it's a societal issue, of course, and then there is politics part of it also. I'll come back to you just in a bit, Bavreen, because I'm told Shambhavi is back with us live from outside the Supreme Court. Shambhavi, you spent about a week or more in the Arrawalis in Rajasthan. You did some work which can qualify as dangerous, where you are risking a lot. You have been issued threats in the last 1 week on your work in exposing the kind of activities that have been going on, many of them illegal. Just before the review comes up, tell us what kind of or what scale of illegal activity. There is the legal mining bit that happens, obviously, and remember, mining is legit in the sense that if you don't sustainably exploit the resources, our growth trajectory stalls. But the illegal part of which happens is something which needs to be clamped down upon. So please tell us, for the benefit of viewers, what level and scale of illegal mining activity was happening in the Arrawalis, where you were reporting from?
So while talking about illegal activity, one thing that we can tell you is that the illegal activity is going on left, right and center in the entire Arrawali Hills, and that predates this new definition which was approved by the Supreme Court. That predates this entire rally or entire campaign of this deciding this new definition of Arrawalis, and the kind of in the kind of ways that illegal mining going on. The most common one that we saw there was there are running illegal mines in the garb of legal leases. So basically what they do is there are a lot of minerals in Arrawali hills, and if you have to extract one kind of mineral or one kind of stone, you have to get the license under that stone, and the most cheap one there is limestone, which is used for cement. Now what mostly these people, these mine owners have been found doing is that they choose the cheapest stone where they have to pay less taxes on the ongoing and coming and going of the dumpers with their material, as well as general taxes on the stone. They choose that stone, they choose that mineral, and they acquire a lease in that name. So the lease becomes legal. But what they do, once they acquire that area of the hill where they start mining, they not only use that mine for that stone, but several other stones illegally. Now also under law, there is a provision under Rajasthan Mineral Concession Act where under section 18 there are around 29 to 30 conditions which needs to be fulfilled for a mine to run legally. Now even if any section, any condition is not met, by default that mine becomes null and void, and by default that mine is illegal, even if one condition is not met. And what we saw in the mines all ranging all around this Arrawali hills, whether it's Alwar, whether it's Kotputli or it's Sikar, in several districts we have seen that more than 4, 5, 6 conditions are not being met. There's a rampant illegal mining going on. They are also going against the NGT order. In most of these areas, there is NGT order that no mining will be carried out post-sunset. So the legal time would be between sunrise and sunset. But there is active mining going on. There's blasting happening, deep hole blasting happening. And for the help of our assistance for our viewers, deep hole mining is when they actually use a explosive to extract mines from minerals from a mine, which is they dig around 6 to 8 feet deep hole and they fill it with explosives and then they burst it. So that is deep hole mining. That has such huge effect. Even Republic, when we were there filing our reports from there, they were investigating. We felt the mountain beneath us, the mountain which was at least 50 meter. We felt that shake because of the effect of that deep hole, and that is going on within 40 feet of the houses. People are living, the children who are studying. So there's so many things which is wrong, which is going on, where Arrawali Hills is being exploited, and a lot of hills have been wiped clean from the Arrawali range. So that is what we actively saw. Back to you.
All right, Rhythm, our Executive Editor, Legal Affairs and Governance, joins us live on this broadcast. Rhythm, obviously a big day. Shambhavi was mentioning that the Supreme Court could have taken it up when it opens after the vacation, but the fact that they have picked it up now during vacation really underscores the kind of seriousness with which this is being taken.
Oh yes, absolutely. I agree with Shambhani. A very good morning to everybody who's joining us this Monday morning. It's going to be a super packed day in the Supreme Court, and that also on vacation time. This is going to be extremely crucial to see, because we're going to see two cases today. We're going to discuss the Sengar case in a short while from now, Abhishek, but now we're going to be talking about the big Arrawali case. This is a case that's picked up momentum, and we have to tell our viewers it's only picked up momentum after Republic TV has done sustained campaigning for the past 2 weeks. Shambhavi has been reporting from there. We've seen the BJP councillor there who tried to offer a bribe to Shambhavi. We've seen the kind of attention this case has got, but I want to go to the very heart of the matter. First, viewers, let's tell you what's going to happen in the Supreme Court today. It's extremely pertinent to remember this is a rather unusual development that the top court of the country, on its own suo motu cognizance, is taking a review petition on a 20th November judgment. This was by earlier former Chief Justice of India, Justice Gavai. Now the vacation bench of Justice Suryakant is taking this in suo motu review. Why this is critical? First, a 3-judge bench of the vacation bench is hearing this matter. This judgment had been passed by 3 judges. That means it's critical what will happen today. Usually on the vacations, a 2-judge bench can hear a review, but first, it's a review. Second, it's in vacations. And third, the bench that has been constituted is a 3-judge bench. That means there could be possibly something that's going to be done in this case that could mean something that could stop one of the world's oldest mountain ranges from systematic destruction, estimated to be about 3.2 billion years old, stretching from 650 kilometers from Delhi to Gujarat. I've told you what the controversy is, viewers. I'm going to go to Shambhavi. Abhishek has given us a breaking news. We're going to go to that. We also have guests with us whom we're going to go to. We all know what this real controversy is about. Before I go across to the guest who's joining us, Bhavrin Kandhari, the environmentalist with us, it is all about a definition. But is it really only about this definition? The controversy over the 20th November order refuses to die. Environmentalists oppose the verdict. Supreme Court takes suo motu cognizance. But I think what is so critical to understand is during the hearing, Bhavrin Kandhari, a very good morning to you. The amicus in the case assisting the court as an amicus had objected to the definition, contended all hills below 100 meters would be opened up for mining. As a result, the Arrawali hills would lose their continuity. This is something environmentalists have been saying. But the documents that Abhishek has gathered clearly show that mining leases have been given out. Shambhavi, being there, has seen that illegal mining is happening. How does this stop, Bhavrin?
So, hi, thank you for the very firm report that you just shared. So, this is important. That's why we've been saying, it's very important to have this, very, very transparent mapping. The local field verification now, like Shambhavi, she's showing that. Now, why is it that this is not on record? And of course, an immediate moratorium on fresh clearances and mining, especially in disputed tracts. That's very important. The creation, of maybe a dedicated authority, an Arrawali Conservation Authority, to oversee all this integrated restoration and sustainable use. So this is very, very important that the independent field-based mapping, which is not only in terms of, what we are talking here, like in terms of elevation, it must include geology, it must include hydrology, biodiversity, all the scientific aspects, and with data, and made public, with independent, analysts and auditors, etc. So because we don't have this, then this is, obviously increasing. Even in, just now I heard Vimlendu say, all the, sorry, I'm not sure about the number of mining permissions that have come in just these last few days. Itself shows that there is no transparent, a mechanism, to make that happen. And wherever there is no transparency, there will always be all this, mess like what we are seeing. So, of course, we are hoping there will be a temporary moratorium or a stay on new mining and tree felling and all this, illegal construction and etc. in this ecological sensitive zone.
All right, I want to also go across to Shambhavi. Shambhavi, a very good morning to you. Rather chilly in the Supreme Court. How soon do you think the Supreme Court bench is going to sit? What is the item number that's going to be the suo motu cognizance that we are looking at, Shambhavi? And of course, later I'm going to ask you on the Sengar case.
So given that there are around 9 items listed before the Supreme Court and the Arrawali matter is listed at number 5, it can be expected somewhere around 11:20 to 11:30 p.m. And it depends upon how quick the previous cases are wrapped up. But on a safer side, 11:30 p.m. is when we can expect something huge or something substantive from the Supreme Court. Back to you.
Okay, then let's also go across to Abhishek. Abhishek, can we just get a sense from you, because what you've got and gathered is very critical. You've got your sources telling you some massive breaking news about mining leases that have been given out, Abhishek, and this clearly indicates the spotlight on licenses that have been issued after the Supreme Court's order.
Well, yes. So in a way, Rhythm, that's essentially a reflection of the kind of constraints that were lifted by the Supreme Court order, or the kind of window of exploitation, so to say, that emerged because of the easy definition that was slipped into it, and you were mentioning rightly so that the amicus had objected to that definition being part of the order. He was overruled and the definition was included. Now, what this means is that because of the definition incorporated in the verdict, we are seeing a situation where the executive branch, where the government of the day believes that, okay, fine, the mining leases, irrespective of the hue and cry that we are seeing, irrespective of the outcry, we can continue to give these mining leases. An example of which is the document that we have put across, which shows that in the window of December 2 to December 18, that's in the fortnight after the verdict, as many as 100 plus mines were put out on auction, 50 were given. Now, the government view is that these were not part of the Arrawali ecosystem or not part of the forest ranges. But what constitutes the forest ranges? What constitutes the Arrawali ecosystem? That itself is under review today by the Supreme Court of its own order of November 20. And that's why I think what we are seeing panning out in front of our eyes is a significant development in terms of environmental activism rhythm, leading to the Supreme Court, if I could say, getting back a bit on the back foot and asking for a review and with kind of urgency, where you are seeing the vacation bench not waiting for the vacations to get over and take up the matter in right earnest, which, as Shambhavi said, it's 10:30 now, might come up between 11:20 and 11:30, so in an hour from now. And before that, of course, Ridham, the fact that Kuldeep Sengar case is also coming up, and in some ways, both the cases a product of the kind of reportage we did on Republic, the coverage we did on Republic, the kind of focus, sharp focus we brought on both the cases, and made the powers that we take note of these significant lapses, either at the end of the judicial, in both the cases, in the case of Kuldeep Singh Sengar, that was too technical a reading of the law, perhaps leading to a situation where the victim, a rape victim, felt so threatened that she had to come out and protest outside the Delhi High Court. So in the case of the Arrawali case, where it almost opened a window where in some pockets at least, if not in its entirety, the Arrawali ranges face the danger of being exploited to a level where you have the possibility of some bit of it or some bit of the ranges getting lost. So I think in that sense, it's a very important day, both in the Kuldeep Sengar case as also in the Arrawali case. And 11:30 is the time we are expecting that this should come up, the Supreme Court verdicts review. Ridham, what really happens in the review? If you could tell us, does the review means that the order itself is now stayed automatically, or does that mean that the court would take it up and decide whether, they need to really put some parts of it under review, all of it under review, give it to some committee, or put on hold the operation of the verdict till the time that the court does a complete review? How does the process go, Ridham?
So, Abhishek, first let's tell our viewers, my esteemed colleague has also studied the law. I think he knows the answer to the question, but this is for our viewers. So, let's actually tell you. First, Abhishek, the cause list has put up on the Supreme Court website says, and I'm reading out from there, suo motu civil case regarding the definition of Arrawali Hills and Ranges and ancillary issues will be taken up, which means it is only going to be a review on the definition of Arrawali Hills. That means the Supreme Court suo motu, out of concern after the environmental storm that has been caused, is going to be taking up this matter on the definition of the Arrawali Hills. Amid the concerns of the recent redefinition of the Arrawali Hills, this suo motu cognizance matter is going to be taken up. It was filed on Saturday, December 27. It's being taken up on Monday. This is a bench of Justice Surya Kant, Justice Maheshwari and Justice Mazeha. This is a vacation bench. They are taking it up on their own initiative. So first, in a review, this shows their initiative. It also shows and reflects the severity of the criticism that has been there on the former Chief Justice of India's 20th November judgment and the current Chief Justice of India's responsiveness to the legitimate concerns that have been there. Chief Justice of India Surya Kant has indicated a 3-judge bench will be constituted to reconsider the November 2025 judgment. I think this really clearly means that there will be, after there's been mounting pressure that's there, it's a rare instance that the Supreme Court has acknowledged potential flaws in its 20th November judgment and in a recent environment judgment, while members are still going to be looking at what happens now. I also want to tell our viewers that in the Supreme Court, there have been 2 cases of environment that have been there, Abhishek, for the last 3 decades. There was the MC Mehta case and the T.N. Godavarman case. These were cases that when we were reporting in the Supreme Court used to come up on a Monday or a Friday every afternoon. We've seen the country's top jurists being there in the environment cases. It was Mr. Hari Salve from 1996 that we saw as an amicus in this case, and he was very much against any mining taking place in this. Slowly, the MC Mehta case's focus shifted to the Arrawali Hills. This is, I'm talking back in 2000, 2002. The definition had gone through a rechange because of something that had happened in Rajasthan in 2010 when they tried to redefine the definition of Arrawalis. After that, the FSL came out with a definition. Everybody was happy with the definition, and that's what struck. Today, when Mr. Salve came on the conversation on the debate with Arnab, our editor-in-chief, the one thing he said is, why touch the definition of that the FSL had given in 2010? That's been 15 years from now. Why have this committee give this definition and accept this definition? This is a flaw. He's also spoken about the height. There was a broad definition of the Arrawalis that was broadened. Why is this height-based definition suddenly taken? What really prompted this? Now, another thing we really need to mention in this case is the T.N. Godavarman cases that was also for the forest conservation that had happened. After these 2 judgments, there was a feeling in the courts that a large part of the environment was being preserved. The reason this judgment has actually caused an uproar is there is no methodology for having seen this 100-meter definition.
I mean, I fail to understand. So if I am 5 feet 8 inches, I am Abhishek Kapoor. If I am 5 feet 7 inches, I am not Abhishek Kapoor. Is that the definition really? I mean, and you know, you go to the forest, you realize that the forest is not just the tree. The forest is the entire ecosystem. You know? Yes. And so it applies to the ranges. And I think there has been some error of judgment, perhaps to put it mildly, Rhythm, in the interpretation of what constitutes the Arrawali ranges. And maybe as it came out during that interview of Harish Salve with the editor-in-chief Arnab Goswami in the debate, I think the precautionary principle, maybe you can elaborate a bit on that, which has evolved over a period of 2-3 decades. Maybe that was sort of given a go-by when Justice Gawai's bench really gave that order.
That's exactly what Mr. Salve did say. This is a top focus, Abhishek, and really the point is these hills predate civilization. We should not let modern governance or modern rules try and deal with something that was established 3.2 billion years ago. Viewers, it's a top focus. Roughly in around 20 minutes from now, the Supreme Court that's going to already be sitting, looking at mentionings in the vacation bench. The top court, the Chief Justice's dome, just below that, the top room number 1 is going to be hearing this matter. We're also going to shift to the Sengar case, Abhishek, and try and get a sense of what prompted this criticism, why there was a big deal made out of the public servant definition. But first, viewers, let's tell you, the same 3-judge bench that's going to be hearing the matter of the Arrawali Hills case is going to also be hearing the CBI's plea challenging the Delhi High Court judgment suspending the life sentence awarded to former Uttar Pradesh MLA Kuldeep Singh Sengar in the Unnao rape case. The CBI had approached the Supreme Court. The Delhi High Court's December 23rd verdict suspended the life sentence pending appeal that was awarded to Sengar by the trial court in 2019. In 2019, the trial court had said that he's been convicted of rape of the girl who was 17, a minor at the time. The basis for releasing Sengar was the High Court's prima facie finding the offence of aggravated sexual assault under POSCO. The basis for releasing Sengar, I beg your pardon, was the High Court saying that he does not constitute being a public servant under the Act. They believed he was not a public servant, and therefore 7 years of his rigorous imprisonment had gone by. They could give him the benefit of the doubt for the time being, and lots of other things that were stated in the judgment. However, it's now the CBI that's come here. Let me also now go across to Riyanka and Brinda Arige, our guest who's joining us on the phone line. Riyanka is outside the Supreme Court. A very good morning to you, Riyanka, and also Brinda who's joining us. Riyanka, I come to you first. Over the past few days, I've seen you talking to the victim. I've seen you talking to her mother. They have both broken out into tears when they're speaking to you. What is the pathos that you've noticed, the helplessness you've seen when you saw them trying to protest at India Gate, when you saw them going in a bus trying to go and take some help from any quarters they possibly could, Riyanka?
Well, it all started when the Delhi High Court's divisional bench went ahead and suspended the life imprisonment of Kuldeep Sengar. Since then, the victim has been protesting on the streets of the national capital. It started with her protesting along with activist Yogita Bhayana at the India Gate Circle when they were brutally dragged and they were put into the buses. That was a detention by the Delhi police that took place on that matter. They were not, they were not allowed to raise their voices. On the other hand, we saw for the last few days there have been multiple protests that have broken out across several areas, whether it was the protest by the victim and many others who had come in, joined her as a support, asking for justice at Jantar Mantar yesterday. A day before that, there were protests that was held outside the Delhi High Court, even though it was a vacation, but the people have been raising their voices. The women went out on the streets. They have been raising their voice for the cancellation of the order, cancellation of the bail that has been given to Kuldeep Sengar. But it is very important to note, Sengar will not be walking out of the jail because he is already convicted for 10 years in connection for the killing of I beg your pardon, in connection with the custodial death of victim's father in this very matter. But all eyes are going to be today because the 3-judge bench that will be taking forward the Arrawali case also listens to the Unnao rape case. The 3-judge bench led by the Chief Justice of India, Suryakant, they will be hearing the Unnao rape case, especially the CBI, which had gone ahead and challenged the Delhi High Court's order in this regard. In fact, the CBI in its appeal before the Supreme Court referred to its verdict in the LK Advani case, in which it held that anyone who holds public office such as MPs or MLAs would be deemed a public servant. The agency had contended that the High Court erred by declaring that Kuldeep Singh Sengar, an MLA at that time the offence was committed, was not a public servant to be prosecuted under the POCSO and granted him bail. So over these lines, we are going to be seeing what exactly the bench, the Supreme Court, observes today.
Riyanka, fantastic that you read out that judgment. Abhishek and I are also going to go across to Brinda Arige, who's joining us. Brinda, I remember when this judgment came, I spoke with you immediately after that on the TV when we were speaking. This is a girl who was gang raped when she was a minor. She tried to immolate herself outside the UP Chief Minister's office. Her aunts died when they were coming to Delhi to give testimony in this case. She was in the car with them. Her father died in judicial custody after being assaulted by Kuldeep Sengar's brother. There is no case that is properly made out against Sengar on that case. Now he's been let scot-free. Once when he was out on bail, the judges had been told that the victim had said that there was pressure and she was being threatened. When he had not been convicted, he had tried to speak with police officers and put pressure on them so that she does not name him. The case only after it came to the Supreme Court, and it was the former Chief Justice of India, Justice Gogoi, Ranjan Gogoi, who had directed the authorities to immediately have this matter shifted to Delhi. That's when, in a Delhi trial court in 30 Hazari, she got justice. Today, she believes there is no justice. She's running pillar to post. She believes there is a threat again to her mother and her. There are 3 members of her immediate family who are dead. Kuldeep Sengar is possibly going to walk out of jail, and I'll tell you why, Brinda, because this was the bigger case that was pending, and the smaller case that was only of 10 years for the death of the father, which was a little far removed from him, so it's not a larger sentence he's gotten it, was the smaller sentence. He was hoping this case would be shushed away. He would get away in this case, and in that other case, he would also, that sentence would be suspended. He would be a free man.
Yes. And I just cannot understand. I'm shocked that the judges seem to be functioning from what space. Their sentence or the phrase that they have put over there is not strong enough. The threat perception is not strong enough to keep convict Kuldeep Sengar in jail. Everything that you pointed out just now is threat, was intimidation. And it didn't just stop at threat and intimidation. There were killings. There were murder. And by just grace of God, probably, this girl and her mother and mother are still around over there. How is it that judges are not looking at the letter and spirit of the law, and they are holding a certain procedure? Instead of looking at the procedure as due process of law, have now placed that burden on the survivor, on the complainant, to say that, now you tell us why you should not be, why should we consider you to be innocent? Why we should consider you to be the victim survivor? Is that the job of the court? Is that the job of the judges? We have still held the entire judiciary in that colonial space. And that is why we are time and again told, you cannot question the judges. It is, conflict and not only sub judice. So you cannot question the judges, but you can question the courts. The judges are functionaries of the court, paid for by the paymaster citizens, and anything that pays money paid from the citizens have a right to question. We need not know the law. I need not be told that don't question judges. In my little understanding and intelligence, I understand what is right and wrong, what is abuse of power. Here, systemic power versus a citizen of India. Who do you think is going to win? It is a systemic power that is winning, constantly winning, and placing the burden on the citizen who has come to the court to seek that justice, seek that protection, which she has been denied all along. Courts are our last resort. Where else will we go if the court makes a mockery of cases that we place before them and mockery of the citizens, hoping, because there's still hope. Today, when the CBI is going to place its plea before the Supreme Court, it is done with that hope that the laws and the constitutional guarantees will be upheld. It cannot be any longer left to the system to say, don't question us. We demand accountability. That is their job and duty. We are not asking a favor.
Just as you speak, Abhishek and I are going to go across to protests that are happening outside the Supreme Court.
से में आप पुलिस ने डिटेन कर चुकी है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट की तस्वीरें हमने दिखाई थी कि किस तरह से भारी संख्या में यहाँ पे पुलिस को तैनात किया गया था। और देखिए ये बस है जिसमें जो महिलाएं हैं यहाँ पे पहुंची है और अपना प्रदर्शन दर्ज करा रही है। जिस तरह से गुस्सा जो है कुलदीप सेंगर को, एक पहले देखिए लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट की सजा होती है, लेकिन उसके बाद उसे बेल दे दिया जाता है और उसी को लेकर के गुस्सा जो है वो लोगों का फूटता है। देश के अलग अलग हिस्सों में देखिए प्रदर्शन देखने को मिलता है। और आज चूंकि यहाँ पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट में 11 बजे के बाद ये सुनवाई होगी और ऐसे में यहाँ पे देखिए महिलाएं, देखिए बस भर के, ये जो महिलाएं हैं यहाँ पे आपको नजर आ रही होगी, बस भर के यहाँ पे महिलाएं पहुंची थी, अपना विरोध दर्ज कराने के लिए पहुंची थी। ये प्रदर्शन आप देख सकते हैं। हालांकि पुलिस ने उन्हें डिटेन कर लिया है, पुलिस ने इन्हें डिटेन किया है। और अब देखिए अगर बात करें तो पूरे इलाके में पुलिस ने बैरिकेडिंग कर दी है। यानी आमतौर पर ये जो सड़क है ये आम जनता के लिए खुला रहता है, लेकिन जो हमने थोड़ी देर पहले तस्वीरें दिखाई थी कि पुलिस ने बैरिकेडिंग कर दी है। यानी पुलिस को ये टिप मिली थी कि आज यहाँ पे प्रोटेस्ट जो है वो हो सकता है। और ऐसे में देखिए ये पूरे इलाके की बात करें, सुप्रीम कोर्ट के बाहर अगर हम बात करें तो पूरी तरह से यहाँ पे अभी भी गहमा गहमी का पूरा माहौल जो है वो बना हुआ है। यहाँ पे पुलिस छावनी में पूरा इलाका वो तब्दील हुआ पड़ा है और टेंस माहौल है, क्योंकि जो अगर हम बात करें तो महिलाओं का गुस्सा वो देखने को मिल रहा है। महिलाएं यहाँ पे पहुंची थी, अलग अलग संगठन जो है वो भी यहाँ पे और भी पहुंच सकते हैं और यहाँ पे प्रोटेस्ट कर सकते हैं। और इसी के मद्देनजर यहाँ पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट में ठीक से सुनवाई हो सके, उसी के मद्देनजर देखिए पुलिस ने पूरे इलाके में देखिए चारों ओर से बैरिकेडिंग कर दी है। यानी नॉर्मल गाड़ियों की एंट्री नहीं दी जा रही है। आप जब इस लेन में एंटर करेंगे तो आपकी आईडी कार्ड बाकायदा पूरी चेक होगी। जब हम भी अंदर आ रहे थे तो हमने भी अपनी आईडी कार्ड शो की कि हम प्रेस से हैं, तब हमें जाने की इजाजत दी है। यानी आम जनता के लिए फिलहाल यहाँ पे आने जाने नहीं दिया जा रहा है। और पुलिस को यही टिप मिली थी कि यहाँ पे प्रोटेस्ट हो सकता है और इसी को लेकर के पुलिस अलर्ट थी। अभी भी जो जानकारी मिल रही है उसके अनुसार और भी कुछ संगठन जो है जो नाराज है, जो महिलाएं हैं, जो आम महिलाएं हैं, वो काफी ज्यादा नाराज है कि किस तरह से कुलदीप सेंगर जो है, पहले तो एक लड़की के साथ रेप करता है, बहुत मुश्किल से जब मामला ये उठता है उसके बाद उसे सज़ा होती है, उम्र कैद की सज़ा होती है, लेकिन देखिए किस तरह से उसे बेल दे दिया जाता है और इसी में विवाद बढ़ता चला जाता है। खुद पीड़िता जो है वो कुछ दिन पहले जिस दिन बेल मिला था कुलदीप सेंगर को, तो पीड़िता इंडिया गेट में अपनी माता जी के साथ बैठ करके प्रदर्शन करते हुए भी नजर आई थी और उसी को देखते हुए जो है लोगों का एक गुस्सा फूटा है और लोग यहाँ पे पहुंचे हैं कि आखिर कुलदीप सेंगर को जो है जो आज फैसला आएगा।
ये पुलिस तंग कर रही है, ये देखिए बर्बरता, ये देखिए, ये हमें घसीट रही है पुलिस, हम बेकसूर हैं। दिल्ली प्रदेश की अध्यक्ष हूँ महिला कांग्रेस की, हम बेटी के लिए आए हैं तो हम उसके लिए बात भी नहीं कर सकते। हमने नारेबाजी ये देखिए कैसे खींचा जा रहा है, कैसे मारा जा रहा है। ये हम एक बेटी जिसको वो कुलदीप सेंगर को क्यों नहीं पकड़ती, कुलदीप सेंगर को क्यों नहीं पकड़ी, इनको बोलो। अरे मैं दिल्ली प्रदेश की अध्यक्ष हूँ महिला कांग्रेस की, मैं ये पूछना चाहती हूँ ये पुलिस कुलदीप सेंगर को क्यों नहीं पकड़ रही। आपकी बहन बेटी होगी ना वो, आप महिला किस तरह से क्या क्यों आए हैं बाहर है भैया, तस्वीर किस तरह से
Those are pictures coming from outside the Supreme Court where the women's wing of the Congress party, the activists have reached there and protesting the Delhi High Court verdict. But they are outside Supreme Court. The reason is that the Supreme Court is going to take up the matter in a while from now. The CBI appeal against the Delhi High Court verdict. We are continuing our coverage. Short break coming up on the other side, coming back on the other side.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा।